Hello everybody, welcome to the debut episode of Confessions of a Huge Winer TV. You may be asking yourself, what the heck is Confessions of a Huge Winer TV? Well, I don't really know yet. We'll figure it out as we go along. Welcome to my wine room. We're going to talk about some wine. Got some exciting things planned for later. You can see there's a second chair here. My lovely wife Tracy will be joining us on some of our adventures. Not today though, we're going to start out with just me. Maybe some lighting and sound challenges, we'll figure that out as we go along. I really don't know how to edit videos yet. I'll get to that. So today, for our first episode, I want to talk about Gamay. Gamay Noir, as it's actually called, although you'll rarely hear it called that. I have two lovely examples here that would be very different. One of them from Beaujolais, where Gamay is most famous, and one from British Columbia, Canada, which is where I live. So, what's the difference? Well, what is Beaujolais? Let's start with that. Beaujolais is a wine region in France. It is South Burgundy. It's technically part of the Burgundy appellation. Of course, in Burgundy, that's where you get some of the world-class Chardonnays and Pinot Noirs. In Beaujolais, almost all of their wine is Gamay. They have a few whites, Chardonnay and a couple other Aligoté, I think. But the white production in Beaujolais is less than 1% of the total wine production, so it's really not that significant. So for today, we're going to talk about Gamay. What makes Beaujolais Beaujolais? It's actually a cross of Pinot Noir and a very old French white grape whose name I have forgotten. And when it's related to Pinot Noir, it's very similar in a lot of ways. Generally, it's a lighter skin, thin-skinned grape. It's lighter. There are 10 Grand Crus in Beaujolais, which all make Gamay, and they're all very different. They all have their different characteristics. One we're going to taste today is from Moulin-A-Vent, which is generally considered the highest rated of the 10 Crus. These wines have a little more structure, usually have a little more tannin, and will age longer. Some people say 10 years, and lots of people will say they'll go 10 or 20, 30 years in some cases. Probably not this one I have right here. What else is about Beaujolais? So other than the 10 Crus, there are two other AOCs in Beaujolais. One of them is just called Beaujolais, which is where they make most of the really entry-level, low-end wine. There's one called Beaujolais Village, which is slightly better stuff. And then there's your 10 Grand Crus. So when I talk about the entry-level stuff, we're talking about Beaujolais Nouveau in most cases. Some of you may have had some Beaujolais and didn't like it very much. You might have been drinking Beaujolais Nouveau. That is, I'm not going to say it's all terrible wine, but it's mostly terrible wine. I've actually never had a Beaujolais Nouveau that I have enjoyed, not a single one. It's mass-produced and shoved to market immediately. They pick the grapes, they ferment the grapes, they throw it into bottles. As I'm recording this right now in mid-October 2020, there's probably 2020 Beaujolais Nouveau on the shelves now in France, or if not, it will be very soon. That's how fast it gets out there. It's wine for people that maybe just getting into wine, don't understand some of the complexities of it. It's meant to be drunk very young, and it doesn't last very long, and it's usually very inexpensive. So we're not talking about that today. We're going to talk about these two wines. The grape Gamay loves granite soil. The soil in Moulin-A-Vent is called pink granite, and there are some seams of manganese in it. Interestingly enough, manganese can actually poison the vines if there's too much of it. In fact, it does poison the vines. It doesn't kill them if there's not a huge amount, but it does poison them a little bit, which will keep the yields lower, which can be a good thing. Lower yields can be good and increase the quality in some cases. This one here from British Columbia is very similar in soil. In fact, I don't know if you can see this or not. They give all the soil details in the back of the bottle. Interesting. So I'll just read it to you. Dirt, sandy clay loam with limestone and granitic rock. That's cellared 100% in stainless steel and 1/3 carbonic maceration. They give you the latitude, the longitude, when it was picked, October 4th, 2018. And even the two clones of grapes. That's a lot of information on a label you don't get in most places. So this winery is called Rust Wine Company. There are about a dozen-ish wineries in BC that make a Gamay. It's not my favorite grape in BC. Usually, this is my favorite of them. There's another winery called Vinamite, which makes a very nice Gamay. I haven't tasted all 12. I've tasted 6 or 7 of them, and it's not usually for me. This is very nice. Usually, I haven't tried this bottle yet. This is 2018. Over here, I'm going to try a 2015 Moulin-A-Vent from Domaine de Rosière, which is a production of Georges Duboeuf. Georges Duboeuf is probably the most well-known producer of Beaujolais. He makes a lot of it, and he even makes some of that crappy Beaujolais Nouveau I mentioned earlier. This is an interesting one because it's a very rare case where it actually has the grape on the label. Not on the front label. It just says Moulin-A-Vent. On the back, it actually mentions 100% Gamay, partially aged in French oak for 8 months. Now, why is that interesting? If you know anything about French wine, if you've ever gone into a French wine section, they don't put the grapes on the bottle. It doesn't say Pinot Noir, it doesn't say Syrah, it'll give you a region, like Moulin-A-Vent. And most of the time on the back label it doesn't mention the grapes either. There are some exceptions. Oh, trivia question. What's the one region in France that does actually always put the grape on the label? We'll get to that later. So, this is... price-wise, this was 25 bucks Canadian. This one I think was 35-ish or 40. I don't remember. I've had this for a couple of years. It's been on my cellar. I'm going to pull it out today. It's 2015, so it's 5 years old. It's probably probably has some secondary characteristics. Might be getting some tertiary characteristics at 5 years. It's probably not really crazy complex yet. Probably has another 5 years of life left in it, but I'm going to open it today and I'm going to see how it is. I'm going to put up a little graphic to show you where the Moulin-A-Vent region in France is, and you can have a look at that while I am grabbing a couple glasses, opening the bottles, and I'll be back. Alright, here we are. So the wines are poured. I moved the camera in a little closer because I wanted to show you a couple of things, and we'll see how that goes. These wines, I didn't decant or aerate either one of them. If you go into a wine review and someone's got P&P in the description of a wine review, that means pop and pour, which is basically what I've done here. I opened them, I poured them, that's it. Do you need to decant Gamay? I think people would argue whether or not you do. I usually decant most of my red wines. I wouldn't aerate Gamay necessarily, or Pinot Noir, the lighter reds. And especially as they get older. You don't want to aerate much older wines like Gamay or Pinot Noir. For fairly young ones like these, I'll be interested to see in a minute how open they are after just being opened. Oh, and why is this third bottle sitting here? Before the break I asked you a trivia question. What region of France puts the name of the grape on the bottle? Well, here's one here. You can see this is Hugo, maybe you can see it or not. Gewürztraminer, from the region of Alsace, that's the one. Alsace, of course, was owned by Germany up until World War II, transferred to France, and they never really bothered to go back to the old French classification system of just putting the name of the region on the bottle. That region is on there, it does say Alsace, but it also says Gewürztraminer. We had a Riesling from that same company recently, and I guess if they didn't put the name of the grape on the thing, I'm not sure how you tell the difference because they're both from Alsace region, I guess, but anyway, that was the answer to the trivia question. If you get that, you got that trivia question, give yourself 5 points, which mean nothing. So here's the Canadian one from Rust Wine Company, 2018 Gamay. And if you can see the difference, there's a huge difference in the color. I'm going to bring it closer to you. Canada, Moulin-A-Vent. Canadian one is much more red, more of a ruby red color, whereas the Moulin-A-Vent is trending towards purple, trending towards garnet. There's not a lot of color variation in the rim here of the wine, which indicates a fairly young wine, as we know it is. Not a lot of color variation here, but more, indicating it's a slightly older wine. As these wines get older and older and older, there's going to be more variation in the color. They'll be darker in the bowl. As they get closer to the rim, they're going to be a little less dark, almost clear at some point. So, let's see what we got here, 2018. I'm just going to smell them both first and just see if one is much more open than the other. No, they're both fairly open. Wow. Oof. Yeah, they're both good, but wow. Okay, so what I'm getting here, a lot that I would expect to get. A lot of bright red fruit. Red cherry, strawberry, raspberry, but maybe almost black raspberry, I think. Pepper, but subtle. I might describe it as white pepper, not black. And by the way, if you're into wine, and you are or you wouldn't be watching this, have you ever noticed the difference, really giving a good smell to black pepper versus white pepper? Something that I didn't really pay much attention to. I do a fair amount of cooking and I use white pepper sometimes and black pepper, but I don't think I ever really noticed the difference in the aroma until I seriously got into wine. Something else I just realized the other day, which I didn't know before, they're the same thing. White pepper is black pepper with the casings removed, the outside removed. Who knew? I didn't know that. Anyway, so when I say white pepper here, it's almost more, it's there, but it's subtle, and it's not in your face, like sometimes black pepper can be. And I bet you we'll have black pepper over here, but we'll see in a second. Let's taste it. I thought I had a fruit fly in there already. Seriously, fruit flies. What a horrible year for fruit flies. I'm in a basically closed room with not much room for them to get in here, so I didn't bring any covers for my wine. Hope I don't pay for that. A couple days ago, I opened up a rosé that I had the night before, and my wife poured it into a glass for me with 3 fruit flies immediately. It was 10 seconds later. Then we realized they were in the bottle. In the tiny little bit of bottle they could get into that they had flown in there. They're awful this year. So the characteristics on the palate here are comparable to what I had on the nose. A lot of red fruit, juicy red fruit. Medium plus acidity for sure, which is common. I would expect to get a lot of acidity with this grape. Medium minus tannins probably. They're not really, again, expected. It's not a high tannic grape. It's a nice wine. Almost a little bit of dark chocolate showing up at the end there. But it's mostly cherry, strawberry, red currant. And along with the chocolate comes a little bit of pepper at the end. And it's a pretty long finish, medium to long finish. I'd say a long finish. It's quite nice. If you like Gamay and you live in British Columbia, I don't know how you're going to do better than that for 25 bucks. Now, let's go across the ocean to Beaujolais. 2015 Moulin-A-Vent. Much more intense here. Much more intense nose. That one was more pretty. Well, this one's got some floral characteristics, some violets. It's like red plum. Cedar. The fruits are a little darker. Still some red currant. It is starting to pick up some tertiary characteristics. Starting to show a little bit of age. And the red fruit, which wasn't really there when I first opened it in the, what's been 5 minutes, is coming through a little now. Also a little bit of black fruit there. I'd almost say boysenberry. And there's an herbaceous quality too. Like a herb de Provence or something like that. Dried herbs. Let's see what it tastes like. Interesting. So I'm getting more black fruit than red on the palate here. Black currant, blackberry, a lot of savory notes, like really. Acidity's medium plus to high again. Tannins are a little more grippy on this, quite a bit more grippy. With this wine, the BC wine could probably age a few years and maybe improve a little bit. This one I think would probably open it too early. Probably could have given it another 5. Especially if you're someone that likes to get those secondary, tertiary characteristics, the herbs, sometimes the forest floor, sometimes the mushroomy thing, flavors. So, very different wines. Very different wines. A little bit of almost like a orange rind, orange pith even, a little bitter on this one. And a little pepper shows up at the end. Medium finish. This one actually finishes, the BC wine actually finishes longer. Interesting. So, if I had to choose one of these to drink right now, I'm going to choose a BC one, and it's not even close, honestly. 5 years from now, this might be better. Oh, it's not that it's bad now. It's a nice wine, but. And for food pairings, if I was going to pair it, well, I am going to pair it with some steak tonight. Let's see what that's like. This one here, it's light, it's fruity, it's delicate. I think maybe you're going to pair that with some lighter fare, some salads, chicken dishes. Nothing too creamy, but a chicken dish probably wouldn't go much more than that. Maybe a simple roasted pork tenderloin, something in there. Over here, it's got more heft to it, a little more intense. You could probably get away with stew or roast. Again, you don't want anything that's too crazy intense. But like if you're having stew and dumplings tonight, this is a pretty good pairing. Roast beef would be nice. Roasted pork chops, roasted chicken would go well with this, I think. So like I said, tonight I'm serving filet mignon with a Worcestershire butter. And I don't know if this is going to pair with that or not. But it's open now, so I'm going to have it tonight. I'm probably going to go drink this one now and save this one for later for dinner. We'll see. I'll write in the comments if it pairs well. I'm guessing the Worcestershire butter might be an issue. Maybe not. Yeah, so 2 good wines. Very different. And becoming more different as they open. This one's getting even more earthy and I'm going to say mushroomy, but there's starting to be some forest floor notes, maybe some wet leaves. But it's subtle. I mean, it's only 5 years old. This is, I don't know what this would be like in 5 or 10 more years. But there's no question. There's a huge difference in this wine. As I said, if I'm drinking one right now, I'm going to drink the BC Gamay over the Moulin-A-Vent. But this one might be amazing in a few years. So, there we go. That's our Gamay tasting for today. Make sure you subscribe to the page. It should be down here somewhere. I don't know. There'll be a subscribe button. So you catch the rest of the videos. I'm going to try and do this weekly or bi-weekly at the latest. Comment. Let me know what you want to hear about. What do you want to talk about? What do you want me to drink next? I have, in the wine room here, I have about 250 bottles. So when I say wine room, I mean the room I'm literally in right now, where we have wine fridges behind us. And I have a cellar off-site in Vancouver, which has another 1,000 bottles or so. So let me know what you think you want to learn about. I'm going to do some blind tastings, which are a lot of fun, with my wife and when we have time to sit down together and do that. And I'll talk about whatever else you want to talk about, within reason. And if I've stated any facts in this thing that you think I'm wrong about, not out of the question, it's quite possible, comment and leave me that information too, and I'll certainly do a mea culpa if I was wrong about anything. So other than that, I hope you had a good time and enjoyed something. And we'll see you for Volume 2 next time.